Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Glad to see a good number of faces here. I was a little concerned with the rain that we might not get as many, and plus I know we have several people out of town this weekend, so I wasn't exactly sure what to expect for attendance today. So the fact that we're right about where we normally run is good. So
You know Baptists don't get out in the rain.
what now?
You know Baptists don't get out in the rain.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was concerned. So, but no, I just, and then, I'm hoping for the day when we get everybody here all at once, and that'll be a nice full room. We'll have a good crowd, good time, and so, but, that'll happen at some point. We'll get that. So, anyways, we are going to continue today through Revelation. We are up to chapter 8. So, and things are going to start getting really interesting. We covered the first 6 seals getting broken of the scroll a few weeks ago. We got through those. And then the last time I taught a couple weeks ago, we talked about the 144,000 witnesses that are going to be, they're Jewish witnesses. They're going to be placed, they're going to have a mark on them, God's going to mark them for protection and stuff, and they're going to be proclaiming the good news, proclaiming the gospel and trying to help as many people find the truth. So, and there's a quote here in my Bible that kind of goes along with that. It says, "If I had 300 men who feared nothing but God, hated nothing but sin, and were determined to know nothing among men but Jesus Christ and Him crucified, I would set the world on fire." And that's a quote from John Wesley back in 1700s. So he was looking for 300 men who basically just loved God and wanted nothing more but to tell people and to help other people find salvation through Christ. And that's what these 144,000 witnesses are going to be doing. They're going to be setting the world on fire and it'll be a trying time when they're doing it too, because we've already seen that it's going to be during the tribulation and the Great Tribulation as well. So, and we'll see more of the 144,000 here in a few chapters. It's going to talk more about them. So, so we talked about that last week or a couple weeks ago, and appreciate Justin for filling in for me last week. There are some weeks where I just have a lot going on, but hopefully it's going to all settle down and I can get into some sort of normal routine. That's my biggest struggle right now. Is I got so many different directions I'm being pulled with things happening here and happening there that I can't get into a routine, and I'm finding it hard. Like this week, this week wasn't too bad. I found some time to study, but I just had a hard time. I was up till about 1 o'clock this morning putting this all together because I did a lot of study, but I didn't actually get to sit down at the computer and put it in and do what I needed to do, and so. I was working on that last night, so I'm hoping that soon here things are going to settle down for me and I can, figure out what my new normal is going to be. And so, but we'll see how things go. So we're going to start. We're going to go with chapter 8 today, okay? And the 7th seal is going to be broken today, and we will see what happens when that takes place. And so this is the last seal that will be broken on the scroll. Okay, some people get confused because there's still a lot more judgments to come, but the rest of the judgments happen because the 7th seal is broken. The 7th seal causes all the rest of the judgments that we're going to talk about. The 7 trumpets and the 7 bowls, all that stuff is all under this last seal. Okay, or all takes place because of this last seal. Okay? And so we're gonna see it here. So I got it broke down. We're gonna do a couple verses, and then we're gonna go forward. We'll see how far we get. Hopefully through the whole chapter, but I don't know. So we might not. So, but verses 1 and 2. When the Lamb broke the seventh seal on the scroll, there was silence throughout heaven for about half an hour. I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and they were given 7 trumpets. Okay, so we're going to stop there. Okay? We talked about heaven and what John's vision of heaven was, and all the praising and all the worshiping that was going on in heaven day and night. And how many people were praising the Lord and worshiping God before the throne and all that stuff during all that time. So there was a lot of activity in heaven going on. Okay? But when this 7th seal gets broken, there is silence. Complete, total silence. John says for half an hour. About half an hour. Okay? We'll talk about that in a second. Talk about the time frame in a second. But just to kind of put this in perspective for you, have you ever been somewhere or been at a sporting event or been in a group of people somewhere or whatever where something happens and everybody in the room, it gets the attention of everybody in the room or everybody in the place, and they just fall silent? One way I can think of it from a sports reference, because that's, I follow a lot of sports, is when somebody gets hurt. Somebody's on the field, there's action on the field, and people are cheering and everything else, and then somebody gets hurt and goes down, and it looks bad. It looks really bad. Okay? And everybody generally just kind of is quiet. Everybody stops cheering. There's nobody making noise. Everybody's quiet until they see that person is going to be okay. Whether they get carted off on the field and give a thumbs up on their way off, or they get up on, get assisted getting up, or they get up on their own power or whatever. But they, it's just that everybody just falls silent. So there's one idea, that this is what's happening in heaven, is that there's all this stuff going on in heaven, all this praise and focus on God and everything. And then this one event happens. Jesus breaks the 7th seal, and the place just falls dead silent. And everybody's focused on what's going to happen now. And the main reason for this is because they have been anticipating this. We've talked about how with one of the seals that the martyrs in heaven, the people that were killed for the faith, are asking God, when are you gonna vindicate us? When's this all gonna end? They are waiting for this to happen. They're waiting for the time to be up. And so when the seal is finally broken, this is a big deal. This is a huge deal in heaven. And the place just falls deadly silent. And so that's the concept here. Is, I didn't want this to be just kind of brushed over, because, sometimes we read through things and we just kind of brush over things, and the fact that he made a point to put this in here tells us that it's important. But just like I say, sometimes we just kind of go over things and we don't pick things out as much as we should, but that's what's happening here. Is this place, this one event has the attention of everybody in heaven, kind of like in here right now. Dead silence, except for me. So, and if I stop talking, it might just be, we'll hear the rain. But no, I mean, it's, so, but that's what's going on here. So now we look at half an hour. Okay, is this, John looked at his Casio watch and start timing, determine that it was a half hour? I don't think so. Is it really a half hour? He says about a half hour. Okay. Really? Basically, don't get hung up on the whole time and how long it is, and if it's literally a half hour, or if it's an hour, or if it's a year, or if it's what it is, okay? You know, basically this falls under some of the other things we were talking about earlier in the book, and that we see, you know, John make references to times and things like that, and throughout the Old Testament we see where time references are made and stuff like that, and basically it boils down to a period of time, and he's just kind of, you know, because to God a half hour is like a pause. I mean, it's like, you know, somebody catching their breath and you know, or taking a breath or whatever. I mean, you know, so really this isn't a big deal of time to God. This isn't, you know, but it's, you know, so just look at it as that this is just a period of time in heaven. That heaven will be silent for just a period of time. Okay? So, and then the last thing I want to, the 7 well, okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, they're given 7 trumpets. The 7 angels are given a trumpet, 1 trumpet each, that they're getting ready to blow, and there'll be 7. Once those are done, there'll be judgments. You know, once they blow each one, there'll be judgments with each one of that. Okay. The one person I read behind this week said that he thought that the 7 angels standing before the throne of God that are given the 7 trumpets are the 7 angels that are referenced, 1 to each letter for the churches back in the beginning of the book that we looked at. Okay, that's one belief. And again, this is one of those things that we don't know for sure, so don't get hung up on it. It's not, they're angels. Okay, there's, you know, countless. I mean, well, probably not countless, but you know, God knows the exact number of angels He created. But there's just angels in heaven everywhere, and so, you know, and also we talked about that the letters, even though they called them angels, that they were probably the pastors and the leaders of those churches that He was sending the letters to. So I don't know that they were actually physically angels, you know, and that these would be the same angels there. You know, now, do I believe that we have angels that watch over us? Yes. Do I believe that the churches probably have angels that watch over them? Do I believe that we have an angel, you know, or maybe more, that's watching over our church to, you know, help protect us and stuff like that? Very well, possibly so. Yes, my own belief, I do think that happens. And so these could be the angels that have that duty, but that didn't receive the letters, but that they're in charge of those churches. So it could be a lot of things, but like I said, don't get hung up on it. But I did want to mention it because you know, I kind of felt that was interesting. You know, but you know, just be aware that, you know, that these ideas are out there, and you know, like I say, it gives you different. One thing I like to do with this class is bring up the different ideas and different beliefs and stuff like that. And so again, don't get hung up on these issues though. Okay. The last seal will contain 7 trumpet judgments and 7 bowl judgments, and then this will all lead up to the fall of the New Babylon and the return of Christ. Does anybody know where Babylon is on our geographic, what it would be called today in the modern world? What country it might be in?
Turkey?
No.
No.
Huh?
Sudan.
No.
Ethiopia.
Nope.
Okay, Israel.
It's not in Israel. Because Israel got taken out of Israel to Babylonia in the Old Testament captivity. It's in Iraq. It's in modern day Iraq. So that's where Babylon was in the Old Testament, the great city of Babylon. And we're going to see that here as we go through and see the events that happen, is that the world leader, the Antichrist, will set up his world rule in the ancient city of Babylon.
What? That should have been a better place. Look at all the evil over there.
So he will set it up again over there in the ancient city of Babylon. So, and and there's a lot of people, and I haven't studied this, but I know that Eden was, of course, we know the Tigris and the Euphrates are referenced in the book of Genesis, talking about, so Eden's not that far from there. So it kind of makes sense, or Eden was, in that area. And so it kind of makes sense that Satan, when he's going to try to take over and rule the earth, that he would kind of put his headquarters as close to where Eden was as he could, And so, but yeah, so that's what this is going to be foretold here. So, and so when the final battle comes back, it'll be the fall of Babylon. So, now the timing of when this happens is a matter of some debate as well. A lot of people believe that the first 6 judgments take place throughout the whole tribulation period. And then we'll talk more in depth about that here in the book of Revelation as we continue forward. And we'll get more details on each of these events happening. Other people believe that the first 6 seals are just in the first 3.5 years, in the beginning of the tribulation, where things are not so bad. Kind of looks rough based on what we've already seen. But, and these judgments get more intense as they go by. There's more and more stuff happening with these things. And we're getting ready to see that here as we start talking about something. Okay? But we don't know. We don't know when exactly the time period will be. Some say it's going to be right before Christ comes back, that this is all these things have happened, and then it's gonna this event, these judgments will all come down, and then Christ will return. Others say that no, this is the first 3.5 years, and then the breaking of the 7th seal kind of marks the midpoint, and then it gets worse and it gets into the Great Tribulation. Again, don't get hung up on this stuff. This is, we're not, the Bible doesn't clearly state it for us, so it's a matter of interpretation, and it's a matter of what people believe and are led to understand. So, okay? So, any questions so far? I need to pray that rain stops in the next 15 minutes.
That's what I'm thinking. We're gonna preach and turn that thing off. I listened to it Sunday, it's on the radio there, the service.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's on there, I listened to
Yeah.
it when I wasn't here.
Yeah, so.
But I know, that's a storm out there now.
Yeah.
It's rain.
Yep, so, but anyway, but we'll be all right, so. We might just stay down here and just keep going, so. Let them have church. So, but. No, so, all right. Any questions, comments, thoughts about this? Everybody understand the significance of the silence in heaven and the fact that heaven's going to be a busy place, and so for there to be complete silence.
Bruce, this is something different. We was thinking about the storm. I said, God don't ask you to go anywhere He won't be with you.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I don't worry about the storm.
Well, I ain't worried about the storm. I just don't want to get soaked getting between here and there. So,
Well, I understand.
okay. I got soaked at the Red Rose Festival. I don't want to get soaked
I
again.
got an umbrella. I thought it was 5 o'clock.
It was not enough fun.
No, it wasn't no fun. So, but anyways, all right. Okay, so let's continue forward here. 3 and 4. Okay, then another angel. Oh yeah, see, we're not even. Okay, I'm like way slow today. Then another angel with a gold incense burner came and stood at the altar, and a great amount of incense was given to him to mix with the prayers of God's people as an offering on the gold altar before the throne. The smoke of the incense mixed with the prayers of God's holy people ascended up to God from the altar where the angel had poured them out. When the angel filled the incense burner with fire from the altar and threw it down upon the earth, and thunder crashed. Thank you. Got my object lesson this morning.
Yeah.
Lightning flashed, and there was a terrible earthquake. Okay, we don't need the earthquake right now. Okay, so you can stop with the thunder and lightning.
Elton and Rudolph will take care of that.
Yes, exactly. So they've been getting enough of them down there. Yeah,
I had heard about that.
yeah. And so, all right. So this is not one of the 7 angels. First of all, okay, as it says, then another angel came forward. Okay, so this is not one of the 7 that's holding trumpets. Okay, we're given a lot of incense. He's going to mix it in the burner with the prayers of the people. Okay, now, saints on earth or saints in heaven? Who's doing the praying? Who's lifting up the prayers that's getting mixed with the incense?
Says it was upon the golden altar. There were the prayers of the saints upon the golden altar.
Right. Yeah, he poured them out. He poured it out upon the altar, exactly. And we saw in one of the earlier judges, in I think the 6th seal or something like that, that there was a lot of prayers that were coming up and saying, you know, but we also saw that the ones in heaven were also praying and saying, or they were crying out to God, which to me that's prayer. That, you know, when are you gonna end this, Lord? When are you gonna end this and stuff? And so I honestly think it's both. It could be both. Okay? We know that there are going to be believers on the earth. Even if you go with the pre-trib rapture and believing that before all this stuff starts happening, that the church gets raptured out of here. If you don't, then you know that the church will be here for that time period. Okay? Even if the pre-trib rapture is the way that this all goes down, there are still going to be people. That's the purpose of 144,000 Jewish witnesses. They're going to be proclaiming the gospel and converting as many people as they can. So we know that there's going to be 144,000 Jewish witnesses here that will be on the earth, and they'll be praying. And we know that there will be the people that they affect as well. You know, and if the rapture doesn't happen until the return, right before the return of Christ, when we join Him to come back and for the final battle, then, you know, all the Christians at that time will be here. So again, it could very well be the people in heaven as well.
I've got a question.
Okay.
You just said the angels in heaven are praying. What are they praying for? Because they're already in heaven. I can see.
No.
The saints of God.
The saints are praying, not the angels.
Okay, I misunderstood.
No. Yeah, it's okay. So I might have slipped up and said it. I don't know. So, but yeah, no, it's the saints. It's the people of God. The angels aren't praying. No.
I think it slowed down. I got to go to work,
Okay. Good luck.
and I pray that my umbrella, when I let it out there, is not metal, but fiberglass. Which means it's safe.
Even if it is metal, it's okay to live on the edge once in a while.
Yeah, I know how to do it.
So,
I'm gonna get on that.
okay.
Drive
Don't
safe.
take care.
Yeah. Be careful.
I will.
All right. So it's mixed with the prayers. Okay. We don't know if they're the prayers of people on earth or the prayers of the people in heaven, or if it's who it is. Okay, we don't know for sure. All right, but whoever's praying, their prayers are going to get mixed with the incense, and it'll be poured out to God as an offering, and the fragrance will lift up to God, as it says in it will ascend up to God from the altar where the angel had poured them out. Okay? And then the angel filled the incense burner with fire from the altar and threw it down upon the earth. Okay? And right on cue, we get more thunder. So, but yes, so this is the first of the events as an answer to prayer. And we see this here because they're mixing the prayers with the incense and then throwing it down to the earth. Excuse me. And so this is not a judgment. This is not a judgment. This is an answer to prayer. Anybody ever thought of answers to prayer being something like this? That, maybe not quite what you're thinking, that they're going to be. That very well could be what happens. You're praying for something, and you get, and the situation changes, but not in the way that you wanted it to. And, but maybe at some point in time you see that was the best, we know that it's part of God's plan, and we know His plan is good and great. And so here we see that, thunder and lightning and an earthquake. Now the earthquake and everything else, all this stuff is going to cause a great disruption on the earth. Okay? And it doesn't say where this earthquake is. Doesn't know if the whole earth shakes or if, again, a lot of this stuff that's happening is to get the attention of the non-believers and get them to see that God is in control and to repent. And so that's what a lot of this is. The thunder and the lightning may be a worldwide thing, maybe localized. We don't know. But just as it was thrown down to the earth. But thunder and lightning and an earthquake, thank you, would certainly get my attention. Now, some people, when things happen, they get bitter and turn away from God and blame God. A lot of people want to blame God for everything. Other people see their need. And that's what's going to happen with all these events. And the more and more that happen, the more and more that they're going to blame God. And the more and more, there will be a lot of people that will be saved, but there'll be more will blame God and turn from God even more so. Okay? And so, but this will have a big impact on the earth. Again, this is not a judgment. This is, I guess, look at it as, there's an old naval term, firing a shot across the bow of your enemy. Get their attention. This is God firing another shot. He's already done a few. He's already done a bunch with a lot of these things that have happened. But here, the prayers of the saints are asking for the end to come. And so this is the answer to prayers. He's getting ready to end it. The seal has been broken. It's getting ready to happen. The angels are waiting to blow the trumpets. And they're gonna, but this is the shot across the bow of the earth to try to get the attention of people. Even more so than what they should have already had. Does that make sense? Does that kind of help clear? Comments, thoughts, questions? We're going to end up stopping there. Get into the trumpet blast next week. Y'all been quiet today for the most part. Okay.
So we don't know if the rapture, because I always thought it did, and then I didn't know if the rapture comes before the tribulation.
There's three main beliefs for when the rapture will happen. The most common is the pre-trib, that before the 7-year period starts, is that the rapture is going to happen and all the faithful believing Christians will be pulled out. That's the whole Left Behind series by Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins is based on that. Okay? And so if you read those books, those fictional books and the fictional accounts of what happens through Revelation, then that's the basis of that there. Okay? There's the mid-trib rapture belief that halfway through the 3.5-year mark, when the Antichrist makes himself known as an evil ruler and whatever, because he's been peaceful up until this point. We're going to see a lot of that coming up here shortly. But at that point, the church will be raptured out. Before things get really ugly on the earth, the Great Tribulation starts to happen. Things get really crazy on the earth, okay? Then there's the post-trib rapture, that people believe that right before Christ comes back, he's going to call all of his faithful believers that are still on the earth, which a lot of them will be wiped out and already be in heaven, because the Antichrist is going to declare war on any Christians that are on the earth at that time. But anybody that's left, 144,000 of whatever's left of them at that point, and anybody else, that he will call them up right before he comes back, and then we will come back as his, when there's getting ready to be a battle, and the one thing for that is when there's, like I say, when there's getting ready to be a battle, that, you want to get all your enemies, or you want to get all your people, excuse me, not your enemies, you want to get all the people on your side of the line. You don't want your people over here getting killed. That's why when we're if we're getting ready to go to war with another country, what do? We close our embassy. We get our people out of there. And I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that, okay? But normally we close, okay? So we would close our embassy and try to and tell all of our people, you better get out of there, okay? It's, and stuff. And so normally that's the procedure, okay? And God is a good God. God's a good general. He's going to make sure that his people are out. And so that's the third point. And that what will happen is that Christians will get raptured up, and they'll be with Jesus, and then they will come back with Jesus for the final battle. Okay? And there's probably a small group of people that don't even believe that a rapture exists. It's not really mentioned in the Bible. You see references to where Paul talks about in Thessalonians, where we'll be caught up in the air and meet Jesus in the air, dead in Christ rise, stuff like that. Rapture, if you look, do a Bible search for the word rapture, maybe some new modern translations might use that word, but most will not. You will not find it in there, because that word was not. It's didn't come about in the belief of the rapture didn't come about until like the 6th century, I believe, or 6th or 16th century, one of them. And that's when and I think it was the 16th, actually, 16th century, when that started gaining popularity and started gaining traction and momentum, and then it became a common belief based on the interpretation of the Bible. Again, that's when, I think that's around the time that King James asked for the Bible to be written, so that, asked for people to make the Bible available so anybody could read it. And so that's when that kind of started happening and stuff. So some people, small group of people throughout the world, don't even believe that a rapture is going to happen. That, it's just not, it's because it's not really clearly stated in the Bible. So it's, yes, most common belief among a lot of churches and Baptists and where we're at, whatever, is that it's a pre-trib rapture. To be honest with you.
I hope so.
Well, I hope so too, okay? But I've always been one with situations that you hope for the best and expect the worst. So I'm hoping that it's a pre-trib rapture, but I'm expecting that we could be here through the whole thing, okay? Because I really don't know, and I really don't spend a whole lot of time focusing on it. Because it's not, we're called to live our lives every day as if, to the best that we can for God. And so that's what we should be doing. And if that's what we're doing, then it doesn't matter. Okay? I mean, it does. We don't want to go through persecution, but my beloved wife always used to say, we saw all these disciples and apostles and everybody get martyred and tortured and killed. What makes me think that I'm going to get a pass on this stuff? So she wasn't sold on the pre-trib rapture. And to be honest with you, I'm not either. I just kind of told you my opinion. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting the worst. So maybe that's not good Christian of me, but that's, I try to do what I can for God every day and live the best I can for Him. So.
Well, it's a tough situation, because the only being that knows when anything is going to happen is God.
Exactly.
We have no choice.